It's time to spill the tea.
Hello!
You there, and welcome to A Spoonful of Theatre.
And this is another one of our Spill the Tea Theatre podcast reviews where we review a piece of local theatre right outside the theatre. I'm TJ, theatre director and practitioner.
And I'm Sam, a teacher of language, literature, and self-proclaimed show business lovey. And TJ, what have we seen?
I have finally seen Secondary the Musical after this is its second run by Checkpoint Theatre right here at the Victoria Theatre, and it played 2 years ago. Right when I was on stage in Little Shop of Horrors. I was supposed to come and watch it, wasn't supposed to be there. So I have been dying to see the show because the first round it was nominated for so many awards.
Yes, it
and
was.
so well received and won many awards as well.
Yes.
So I'm so glad they brought it back 2 years later. So the first question, Sam, is what do you think?
I have been through every single emotion that I can think of. I have laughed, and I mean laughed, big, guffawing belly laughs. I have cried, and I mean sobbed. I have cried multiple times in this show. I have felt anger. I felt despair, and I've also felt hope. Basically, every emotions a secondary teacher goes through throughout the academic year. But what about you? What do you think?
For me, I completely relate to this show as a teacher and as an ex-student as well. I think you know the themes it explores are so important to be talking about in Singapore, and it was a beautiful play in that perspective. That the emotions that the characters went through was really interesting. For me, as a musical, being a musical theatre person, the music style didn't necessarily float my boat.
Right, fair enough.
It is a very unique musical style, which the composer, writer, Weish, that is her style. I think it is going to be one of those styles that isn't for everyone musically. And there's a few things when we get into the nitty-gritty that I think held me back from feeling the certain things I would normally want to feel in a musical.
Right.
However, the story and the things they were telling is so important, and I really enjoyed that, and I felt all the things you felt, and I still enjoyed myself. There was some, with my theatre hat brain on, there was a few things that I want to unpick.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, I cannot help but relate to this as a secondary school teacher. It resonated, and I'm going to quote Weish. She summarizes it beautifully with this. It also reminds me of how much I truly loved teaching in spite of immutable structures that broke my spirit day by day. In one sentence, Weish has summarized why this story resonated with me so much. I'm kind of agree with you on the music and song side of things. Not my cup of tea, and I didn't really connect to them as very much, but didn't take away from the fact that I connected so much with the story, so much. So let's get into it. Where do you want to start?
Shall we start with story?
Let's start with
story, yes.
Oh, I can't help but resonate because it's about the daily life of a literature teacher. and I want to start with the anger, if I may, because I mean it takes from Inside Out. It takes from Inside Out, where a human has panic and humor and discipline and all these things that we tap into day by day. So it borrowed from Inside Out. But where anger really crept in was two things. One, the daily debate that we as literature teachers have all over the world about what is valuable English literature. And they go through Shakespeare and Austen and all the things that I studied when I was at school. And then the question come up, what is learning local literature valuable? Why is that a question? Why is that a question? And that's what made me angry. The other part that made me angry as well was the system.
Yes.
What the system can do to these kids. And the system is one of the villains that never appears on stage. It looms large. The other one is the parents, and less said about that, the better. But these villains loom large into the daily struggles of what teachers in any subject have to go through. And that's why the story resonated with me so much. And the connections that the teachers, and this was done beautifully on the stage with Genevieve and the three students, actually the whole class of students. What makes a class of students? I will argue to the day I die, it is the relationship built between the teacher and the students.
Yes.
That's what makes a class. Not observations, not all these things. It's the relationship that's built between a teacher and the class of students in front of them.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. But it is, from a professional development point of view, I've had more professional development in that show than in 11 years of education.
Going back to the writing.
Yes.
I'm glad
Sorry,
you
soapbox.
Had,
I'll get off it.
your
I'll get off it.
For me, the play came from a place of real lived experience.
Yes.
It came from a place of lived experience. You could tell that Weish has experienced what she has written
Yes.
about, because so many times writers write about a topic that they've researched but not necessarily first-hand experienced, and I think that was really clear. It was a genuine Singapore teacher's story.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people in the audience will relate to that, especially the Singaporeans, but even two Angmos like us can resonate with
yes.
this story, because education is universal. And I think what Weish touches on and what she prods at really will spark conversation
Yes.
within the audience about what happens to those get left behind. So the story really is beautiful, and the characters that they've used really tell that story lovely. I do love the kind of Greek chorus inside out, inside the teacher's mind that's used. We're not going to spoil it too much there,
No.
but like I do love that that kind of trait that she put into the story there. So in terms of the script and the story we're telling, I thought it was a really beautiful story. The one thing I would say, though, from a writing perspective, it did sometimes feel that we were going into scenes very quickly. Like scenes ended abruptly and then suddenly we were in a new scene, and it didn't always link. I thought there was a lot of almost like montages that just appeared.
Yes.
And I would have liked to see those link a little bit more. So for me, that's where it just felt a little bit disjointed at times. But I also do feel that it could have done with just a little bit of condensing down. The show was 3 hours long. Nothing wrong with a 3-hour show. For me, I think we could have told that same story in 2.5 hours. I just think for me, it just tipped over a little bit too long.
I agree with you there.
So let's go into the music. I think let's stay with the creative vision of the show. For me, when there's a reason that musicals have a very similar journey in most musicals, where certain songs have to be in certain places.
Yes.
The 11 o'clock number, the big interval number, the kind of comedy songs, and why songs usually start off small and build. Or there's repeats of choruses, or the tunes are catchy. It's how we relate to songs. It's how we tell a story, and I think it's okay. There's many examples of musicals where things have been tried differently. For me, I actually find this almost a Singapore Hamilton.
Right.
And you know my opinions on Hamilton. I don't have quite the same emotion as I do with Hamilton, but I think I struggled without the style of music doesn't always go into the kind of same choruses and tunes that we're used to, and I struggled to kind of get on board with the musical style. I think in the end I sat in the world and I knew what I was hearing, and I kind of just embraced what was there. But the dynamics of building a song to a moment, or that big song coming out, we just never quite hit those peaks because we were in those like almost ethereal musical world the entire time. And it's just not my style. It's not necessarily bad. It just, for me, from a musical theatre brain, doesn't tell the story in a way that I expect a musical to be told, and that helps me as an audience build and drop my emotions when I hit a song. And for me, songs have to be earned, and sometimes they just weren't earned, and they also didn't necessarily always move the story forward.
Fair enough. What about performance?
Beautiful performances. Honestly, I really stunning cast. Every single person on that stage shone for me. There wasn't a weak link.
For me, there are three stands out. One is the ensemble. I have to say, one of the hardest working ensembles I've ever seen in theatre. They worked so hard because they were playing all different characters, school children, the Greek chorus, as you say, really, really hard-working ensemble. The next is Genevieve. As I said, as a literature teacher myself, I resonated with Genevieve so well, but also Junvin. Now, I fell in love a little bit with Junvin in Serangoon Gardens. I've fallen a lot in love with him in this one. He was brilliant. His comic timing and his ability to play the sort of Heartlander Singaporean just shone through. He had some of the best laughs, some of the best lines, and he actually emulated a teacher I used to work with, a very local teacher who had that wall of, I'm a teacher but I'm not going to change the world kind of thing. But just the comedy of him, the timing, the delivery was absolutely spot on. Junvin, you were marvelous. Well done, my friend.
I agree. I think Junvin really brought. It was written as the humorous part, but he performed it stunningly. And I think those moments were really needed in the show as well. It really lifted the show for me. But I think we have to give a huge shout out to Nadia because on the day that we've watched it, the role of Mandy should have been played by dear Rebecca, but she's unfortunately injured.
So get well soon, darling.
Get well soon. But Nadia has stepped in stunningly. You would not believe, because she will not have had hours of rehearsals. She'll have had some, but not all. And she looked like she'd rehearsed that for weeks. Nadia, you have absolutely smashed it. And same with Narol, who took over her role. And I must say, absolute kudos to Checkpoint, because quite after COVID, understudies became fashionable. Because just in case someone caught COVID, suddenly Singapore needed understudies. And the last few years, that trend has disappeared. This just proves why they are still necessary. Yes. And I really wish Singapore theatre really sticks to this. But kudos to Checkpoint, because if they hadn't, the show wouldn't be up right now. So well done to Nadia. It was an amazing performance. It did not feel like an understudy performance. Really kudos to you there.
And let's get into the more technical aspects: staging, costume, lighting. What did you think?
For me, the standout is the choreography. I absolutely loved the choreography. That kind of it matched the music really well, but more than that, it was unique. It wasn't your typical jazz hands musical, but no was the music. But it really told the emotions of the character and used the ensemble super well. So Hafiz absolutely inspired choreography. That will stick with me, actually, the choreography. What about you?
Choreography was marvelous. It's funny how you mentioned Hamilton, because with the choreography, I thought Matilda.
Okay.
I thought Matilda a little bit. Or certainly, it reminded me of Matilda. I really quite liked the set. I thought it was a very simple set, but you could imagine it being a classroom. You could imagine it being a quad. You could imagine going upstairs into the admin department of the principal or the discipline master or something like that. It used the space really, really well in multiple different ways, and I really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, no, I think Patrina, who did set and lights, really, the world was beautiful. It was it was really aesthetic, and that matched the costumes as well. The costumes all being really complementary colors the whole time, and I really loved the tree. And we were both debating what that meant. And I think it's one of those very artistic things. I think this is a very artistic show, actually.
Yes.
It's kind of when you go to see a painting and different people are going to take different things from it, which is great. That's wonderful. For me, that tree symbolized the growth of students, growth of nurturing education, because it was always lit and it was always casting a shadow over the school. And this looming tree of growth was always there. So I loved that, because obviously there's not a tree in a classroom the entire time. So
No,
for me,
true.
that's how I read that.
True.
How did you read it?
I read it quite literally as like the quad, the sort of outside where the kids may assemble or chill out or talk or play. So I took it from a quite literal sense, but I absolutely see why you think the growth aspect of what education should be. Now, I'm going to underline, italicize, and put quotation marks around should, because go back onto my soapbox again, this musical does ask some very important questions about what education should be doing in a meritocratic society, right? Off soapbox again. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, as you know by now, when TJ and I go and see a piece of theatre, we always give it a spoonful rating out of 5 spoonfuls, but we never reveal what spoonfuls we are going to give until that moment has arrived, and that moment is now. So are you ready, TJ?
Ready.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, now this has not happened for a while.
happened for a
We
while,
are
no.
differing.
Yes.
Okay. Since you're on the 3, we'll start with you.
For me, a 3 is a great show. I enjoyed it. I thought as a play, it was beautiful. The music just didn't float my boat.
Sure.
It wasn't bad. It was an amazing show, and I think everybody will come and take something away from it, and I urge everybody to come and watch it. But for me, just didn't float my boat musically. But I really, really enjoyed the story. 4 from you.
For me, a 4 purely for the story and the performance. It really, really resonated. As I say, I've gone through a lot of emotions, from laughter and sobbing, crying, and I love it when theatre does that, because that means it really has touched some nerves there. The vocals could have been a little bit tighter, in my opinion. There was some inconsistency in the vocals here and there, but that doesn't take away from the stunning performances that I have seen today. No, I really, really have enjoyed it.
So make sure you catch Secondary the Musical by Checkpoint Theatre at the Victoria Theatre. It is playing here until the 26th of April, and you can get tickets on Book My Show.
Right, my tea's on cold love. Shall we leave it there?
Let's.
So that's cheerio from us. We'll be back soon.
And a ta-ra from me.
And to the cast and crew of Checkpoint Theatre's Secondary the Musical.
And to anyone else performing in Singapore Theatre,
Break a leg.